Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is 9:36 on a beautiful Monday morning. So beautiful day. So yesterday was the big giant Pride Festival in Rockland, Maine, and that's pretty awesome. They really lucked out with the weather yesterday. I played. We did a quantum set. It was early, super early, like 12:30. We were like the second group I think that played, or really the first group that played. But it was fun. It was yeah, it was usually for like the last almost 10 years for Quantum. Kind of like since we started the band, or since I started the band. Every year for the summer solstice, we would play in Rockland, and they would usually do this big block party. They'd shut off the main street and have this big celebration for the summer solstice. They have a bunch of vendors set up, and then they have a bunch of bands playing all on the side of the different areas of the town. And we did that for, I don't know, probably we started doing that almost maybe a year or two after I started the band. So we'd been doing it for years. There was only one that we missed, really. Last year in 2024, we weren't able to do it because I had something booked already. And then the year before that, it got rained on, or the forecast. It was forecasted to rain a lot that day, so they ended up moving it to a different day. And that wasn't as good because there wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't as many people. But in the past, like usually it's a great fun gig for us. But this year they decided, for whatever reason, not to do the summer solstice. But yesterday was kind of like, felt like that took the place of it because there was a shit ton of people out there, and it was fun. And then we also did a show on Friday at Hot Hill Tavern with my great friends Ronnie, aka Enor, and my friend Eric Halsey, who has a also has an electronic group, Halsey, and it was great. It was super fun. And then we played with another group, a one man band from up in Lincoln, Maine, and that was just wild. Kind of like this punk rock one man rock show. Super fun. And then this coming Saturday, which originally, like I said a couple minutes ago, usually we would be doing the summer solstice thing in Rockland, but that got canceled or whatever this year. So in place of that, it was a little bit of a snafu that day because I had another gig that day as well. And then I had this solstice gig came come up, and then I ended up taking the so I ended up turning down the other gig for the solstice gig, and then the solstice gig got canceled too. So like two things get canceled for the solstice. The summer solstice actually starts, or the summer officially starts on this coming Saturday. So it was a little bit of a cluster F. So then I had this idea of, well, why don't we still try to do something anyway? So I talked to Dennis Howard at the Opera House Video, the only working and functioning and the only video store in the state that is still alive where you can actually rent physical media. We've done a couple of, we did, I think, two shows there before. We did one during the day. We might have done three shows. It's hard to remember, but I know we did at least two shows there before. One where we just played during the day early on a Saturday, and then we also did one nighttime show on like a Thursday night, and we shared the bill with Leo from the new band Osmia that I've been playing with. That's just super fun. We also played on Saturday at Hey Sailor. We opened up for the Sea Peoples, who are an amazing band from Portland, by the way. Really great. My first time seeing them. That was super fun, super creative, and so I played at Opera House twice. And so then because of the thing with the solstice, I had this idea of like, because I've been wanting to do another show at Opera House Video anyway. So then I was like, well, why don't we? Maybe we could like do a set or a show at Opera House the day of the solstice, since those two other things fell through. And then so I reached out and got it to work, and the other really cool thing about it is I'm going to have my friend Enor, who I played with on Friday. He's going to also be joining us, and we're going to do two sets. Well, we're going to do. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting because I got this idea a couple of months ago. I went to a like a singer songwriter showcase a while ago at Hey Sailor, and I had a friend who was playing at it, and it was really cool because what they basically did, they had there was about five different artists, singer songwriters, all on stage at the same time. And so what they did was they just kind of went down the line. They would just each person would play a couple of songs, and then they would just kind of pass it down the line, and keep rotating in and out. So you like constantly got this new music, and each person really, got a little chance, or got a chance to shine. But then it would lead to the next, performance, and it was cool. It was like a round robin kind of idea, and I thought it was cool. I'd never really seen that before. Kind of similar, similar to the vibe of like if you go to, you go to a party and there's like a, people have a fire and people set up a campfire and then you have a bunch of people sitting around with an acoustic guitar and then people kind of swap songs, kind of like that kind of vibe. But I saw it more formalized and like as a performance at Hey Sailor. I was like, that's a cool idea. What about taking that idea and doing it in the context of the music that we do? And with my friend Ronnie, who plays this really awesome kind of improvised ambient electronic music. So I had this idea. Why don't we do the same thing for us? So what we're going to try to do, it's early. It's going to be 1:30 in the afternoon at Opera House Video in downtown Belfast, and we're going to start. We're shooting to start right at 1:30, and we're basically going to try to do the same thing. We're going to both set up in different parts of the room and then do like a, I don't know, 20, 25 minute set each. But then just after like say the 20-minute mark or so, or 25-minute mark or 15-minute mark, we will like try to pass off the next group of music, or song or songs to the next artist, and we'll like try to go back and forth, kind of like a round robin idea, which I think would be kind of a cool thing. And maybe we'll do a jam, if you will, at the end. So yeah, it could be a fun thing. It's a new idea, and I talked to everybody, talked to Ronnie and Dennis and Mike about it, and everybody was into the idea. Like they thought that was a cool idea. So we're going to try something a little bit different. So yeah, come on by if you're around for that. So that'd be cool. Always trying to do some new things with the band and new, kind of new ways of hearing music or even seeing music for that matter. So that's going to be at 1:30 this coming Saturday. So yesterday was Father's Day, of course, and I went over to my folks. I typically when I go over to my folks for dinner, you usually do, for holidays and things like that. Yeah, I usually we usually have a big meal and then we watch a shit ton of movies. But yesterday, I wasn't sure what time I was going to be going over there, and so and I thought originally I was going to just be able to go over there for like like an hour or two, and not really do the dinner thing. But then it worked out later on in the day that I was able to like go over there for dinner. So I broke 1,000 years of tradition and did not rent any movies. I went there empty-handed. So, but we had a nice dinner, and then my folks said that my folks go to the Belfast Library to rent movies and TV shows. They're of course very very big movie fans, but they go to the Belfast Library to rent movies, and they have, surprisingly, they have a huge collection of movies that you can rent. They also do lots of new releases, which I did not know. They have a huge DVD area at the inside the library, and they also have apparently a big Blu-ray selection. And it was funny because my parents had basically rented these two movies Black Box and Mickey 17. I think that was the name of it. That were two movies that I kind of was looking forward to seeing, especially Mickey 17. But I was actually at Opera House Video a few days ago, and I had both of these movies in my hand, and I was a little bit on the fence about it because I heard these were movies I was really looking forward to seeing, especially Mickey 17. But then I was like kind of on the fence because I heard both movies were like okay and not great. So I passed. I passed on renting them. I didn't. I put the ended up putting them back. So when I went over to my folks' place yesterday for Father's Day dinner, they had both of those movies there. It was really funny. They had just rented those movies, and they had watched both of them, and they didn't like either one of them. So I was like, oh, okay, well that's funny, and so I ended up borrowing them, and I ended up watching. I'm in the midst of watching them now. I just started watching Mickey 17, and I'm really digging it so far, but I gotta I gotta finish it. Probably I will finish it tonight. And but the movie I'm going to be talking about today is the new Steven Soderbergh movie, Black Bag. And I was kind of looking forward to this movie. It's like a spy thriller film, or it is. It's like a modern day kind of espionage thriller based movie. And you know, Steven Soderbergh has not really done a movie in years. I mean, he's made some killer movies in the past. You know, like super cool movies. Movies like Traffic and Contagion and yeah, he made a Ocean's 11. I mean, he made a whole slew. Out of Sight, which is just an incredible movie. In the early 2000s and even in the late 90s, he was so prolific. He made so many great, fantastic movies. And I don't know, like I felt like he just kind of fell off the face of the earth as a director. I think he had done like some TV shows and a few other like things like that, but I did not know of any movies that he had done for like 10 years. Like it basically just like disappeared off the face of the earth. At least I thought. And just this year, he just put out these two movies. There's two movies he just put out pretty much together. A movie called Black Bag, which I'm going to be talking about today, which is this like kind of uh, you know thriller, espionage, spy thriller film. And then he put out another film, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's essentially I don't know, kind of a supernatural ghost story. So, and the Black Box. Again, I saw the trailer for this in the theater not that long ago, and it looked really good. I was like, it looks really cool. It looked really like Steven Soderbergh has a real aesthetic, to a lot of his films. A lot of his films are really highly stylized. Out of Sight is probably one of his best movies. Traffic is incredible, and he definitely does these, and he also does these kind of short experimental films, like The Girlfriend Experience, which was kind of an interesting movie. And then also another movie I think was called The Bubble, which was like this kind of experimental film. And he, can do action films. He can do thriller films, dramas. He also did, I believe, a remake of Solaris, which was like the classic Russian film. He made a remake of that, which actually was pretty decent. So his career has been, he's made movies in many different genres. But again, like it felt like he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Um, the cast for this movie is for Black Bag is really awesome. You have the absolute, one of the greatest actresses around. Kate Blanchett is in this film. Michael Fassbender is also in this film. Pierce Bronson is in this film. Really great cast, and there's a lot to discuss with this film. Um, the film has got this very 70s vibe to it. It is highly stylized. There's some really interesting kind of lighting. The music is really, really great. I think the music was composed by David Holmes, if I'm correct, who has worked a lot on a lot of Steven Soderbergh films. He's a really great composer and musician. I have some of his albums actually, and he does a lot of electronic music. And the music for this film is really, really cool. Very stylized. It's very, it's kind of got this heightened reality, and it's essentially about this spy agency, if you will, where there's someone in the fold that is basically, you know, has like gone rogue or is infiltrating this group and this organization. And so it's this quest to try to find out who this person is. And essentially it's Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender play a couple. They are both working, they are both spies. And it is revealed that Kate Blanchett is actually the person who is this other, who is the spy who is infiltrating this organization. And I honestly did not make it all the way through this movie. It's got really great music. The cinematography is very cool, but in a weird way, it's it's kind of distracting in a strange way. There's a couple of scenes where there's so much light in the scene, particularly around. There's this big dinner scene where all of these characters are eating, and there's all this light, like these candles, these light fixtures on this table, and it's so like over the top and kind of ridiculous, um, that it kind of takes away from the scene. I like the heightened reality feel of this movie. It definitely has this like 70s vibe. The music is really great. There's some beautiful cinematography. It has a great kind of opening. There's some amazing again, getting back to the cinematography, there's some amazing shots in this film. Fairly interesting dialogue, and I kind of feel like this is the case of, sometimes when you have this, kind of scenario like on paper where you like, and I kind of can compare this to like situations like in music as well, where you have on paper you have this incredible cast. When it comes to a band, you could take where a band puts together this, or where there's a band that emerges that's like a super group, really world famous musicians, world class musicians, all kind of getting together. And on paper, you think this is going to be amazing just because of the names that are involved. But in reality, it doesn't really work because there isn't any real chemistry between the characters and the material. And I feel like, sadly, that's the case with this movie. This movie is so incredibly fucking boring. It's it's all style, but there's like zero substance to this movie. This has got to be one of the most boring movies I have seen in recent time, and I was really disappointed. I could not make it all the way through it because I'm like, holy shit, this movie is like watching paint dry. And I got about, I don't know, maybe 45, 50 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I'm like literally falling asleep. I love slow paced thrillers. I love slow paced. I love the slow burn film, style, especially when it comes to horror films or suspense movies. I think there's so many great examples of where things can be moving along at such a small pace, but yet if it's in the hand, particular film or project is in the hands of a really skilled director, you're still getting good information. You're being pulled in slowly, and it's like this slow burn. With this film, that never really happens. It's just really slow, and then it just feels like it just gets slower and slower. I was really disappointed with this movie. Yeah, I was looking forward to this movie. I again, I saw the trailer for Black Bag in the theater, and the trailer looked really good. And I almost considered going to see this in the movies. But this movie was not in the theater very long. It kind of like went, I think it was in the theater for like a week, and then it like disappeared, and then it was right direct to video. And I have, this is a DVD version of this film. And man, Snoresville, total Snoresville. And there's some things in this film which I'll get to in a minute that were just uh, kind of absurd and just so ridiculous and so unbelievable that I was like, that when those things kind of happened, when it kind of moved in, when the story kind of moved into this, those particular situations involving some of the central characters, I was like, this is just cockamamie. Like, there's no way that that's going to happen in any way, shape, or form. And it was just like, why did they do that? Why did they? Why did they put these characters in this situation? The main thing that happened that took me out of the movie, where it's like, this is absurd, was Kate Blanchett's character. There's one scene where there's this big dinner scene, and both the main characters, Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett's characters, invite some of their colleagues and some of their friends over for dinner. And one of the main characters, also who's in this movie, comes over, who's at the table, who comes over for dinner, is also Kate Blanchett's like therapist. And during dinner and over the proceedings of them eating dinner, it's revealed that one of the characters has basically had this affair with this woman, and it all comes out, and then it just spirals out of control, and the shit hits the fan. But and then there's a scene of like the next day, Kate Blanchett is back at this friend's, back with this friend who happens to be her therapist as well, and it spills over into the session, and I was just like, that is so ridiculous. Like, there's no way in hell that would ever happen. You know, a therapist, psychologist is not going to cross that line. They're not going to be friends and drinking buddies essentially with their clients, and they're not going to hang out with them in that context at all. Like, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, it was such a big part of this particular scene. I was like, this that's so ridiculous. Like, that would never happen. And it just, I don't know why they decided to do that. And it's kind of a big part of the story, especially the dynamic of like this tension that's going on. And I'm like, why did they do that? And when that happened, I was like, that was one of the worst. That was one of the dumbest calls I've ever seen for a screenplay. And as far as like, um, you know, as an attempt to like move the story forward. And I was like, that again, that was a scene, and or those two scenes especially, but that second scene when they're back into the, you know, where she's at therapy with her friend. I'm like, this that's a total conflict of interest. That's never going to happen, and that was just totally just dumb, just a bad call, and I don't know why they did that. And on top of that, the movie is just so freaking slow, so slow. It's Snoresville. It's all bells and whistles. It's got, you know, again, it's got this very sexy look. It's, you know, you feel like you're going to be watching this really kind of high tension filled thriller. But when it comes to the story and the actual characters, it's like, it's nothing happens in this movie. And my folks had even said that they thought that this, they didn't, I don't know if they, I don't think they got all the way through it either. They said it was super boring. And they, it sounded like they didn't make it all the way through and they took it out. And they were 100% right, because this movie was boring as hell. And I wouldn't even, I, you know, and I'm like, super disappointed because I'm like, wow, Steven Soderbergh has not made a movie. He's a, you know, and again, I talked about him in the beginning of the show of some of the incredible movies he's made. And I'm like, what? He's been gone for years and he comes back with this? Like, he puts together this amazing cast. And I'm like, what? Like, and it was a great idea, a great premise. And I'm like, what the heck happened? And it's total Snoresville. I wouldn't even waste my time, or anyone out there, I wouldn't waste your time even if you're gonna stream it or whatever the kids do these days to see movies. Yeah, it's totally boring. It's literally complete style over any substance. So, yeah, big hard pass on this movie. So, thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.